Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
Well, first of all, Markey, I just want to address that yesterday was a great day for our country, and President Trump delivered on a campaign promise that he made to the 80 million American voters who elected him to this highest office, a promise that many presidents before him for decades refused to deliver upon. This is a national emergency. We have a $1.2 trillion trade deficit. We've had 90,000 factories closed across our heartland. We've had 5 million manufacturing jobs go overseas since 1997. And President Trump is finally doing something about it by implementing these reciprocal tariffs. It's the golden rule for the golden age of America. As for prices and what the American public can expect, they can expect price stability. They can expect to buy American. It's the patriotic thing to do. And most importantly, they can expect their wages to go up. We know that in President Trump's first term, wages went up by $6,500 per person. And that's because of the whole of government economic approach that this administration is taking.
What was your reaction to the president's announcement on tariffs today? What do you think?
Very excited about it. And a lot of my brothers and sister steel workers, like Brian, were very excited about it because we saw what it did back in 2018. It definitely made a difference in the market. It held back all the influx of all the stuff coming over from everywhere else. Saved a lot of jobs. Did a lot of good for us. As an American, just as a country, it did a lot. But for the steel industry, it definitely helped us.
So what Matt just said, James, is it promises made and promises kept by Trump? We know that blue-collar workers are moving to the Republican Party. They feel abandoned by the Democrats. Do you agree with that?
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Last year, criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion.
Although I am still a Democrat, I am announcing that I will forego the Democratic primary for mayor and appeal directly to all New Yorkers as an independent candidate in the general election.
The mayor's announcement comes one day after a federal judge dismissed the corruption charges against him permanently, not allowing the Trump administration to keep them hanging over his head.
You know, we have been told this lie for years that, you know, NAFTA was great and all these different plans after that. And all we've seen is bleeding jobs. I have 26 years and 8 plants because a lot of those plants closed. And a lot of those plants closed under, Democratic leadership. If you can remember, NAFTA was crafted originally by the Bush family and then turned around and Clinton signed it into law. And it was the biggest bloodbath we ever had of losing our jobs, and we never recovered from it. And Trump is the first time I've ever seen a reverse of that and actually jobs coming back into our country. And better than 65% of the membership support him, and probably closer up to 70 now because they're starting to see results from that.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
Call it a close personal friendship with Trump over the years, cozying up to him at Mar-a-Lago events and even traveling with Trump on the campaign trail last year. You can see right there. Even accompanying him to a 9/11 anniversary observance in Lower Manhattan. I mean, that was quite a choice by Trump. It was so outrageous that actually fellow Republicans finally pushed Trump to distance himself from Loomer and boot her off his plane. Just take a minute to sit with this. The president and a number of his key cabinet members and his chief of staff had to listen to rantings of a 9/11 conspiracy theorist in the Oval Office. Imagine being Howard Lutnick listening to that. Remember, his financial firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, lost 658 people in the World Trade Center on 9/11. Including his own brother. So what was Loomer really there for? I mean, according to the New York Times, she walked into the White House with a sheaf of papers attacking the character and loyalty of numerous NSC officials. Now, to be clear, these weren't exactly rogue liberals she was attacking, not people just secretly Democrats in the rough there. I mean, a lot of these people had actually worked for the Trump administration during the first term. But Loomer said they were disloyal to Trump because they were, quote, neocons. Now, sources tell NBC News that Waltz stood up for his employees in the meeting. But remember, he's on pretty thin ice right now in the White House. Mainly, it seems, over the fact that he had Jeffrey Goldberg's contact in his phone less than over the group chat he initiated that included attack plans and emojis. Who knows? With that aside, in the end, it seems Walz's National Security Council got Loomered. Now, that is her term, not my term. But after that meeting, as the world economy was melting down from Trump's tariff announcement, the president fired at least 6 officials from the National Security Council, according to The Times. Now, today, Trump said that was totally unrelated.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
No, the president is firm in his approach, and the president is ensuring economic stability here in the United States of America. Yesterday, he was joined in the Rose Garden by everyday Americans, middle-class workers. You heard from one of them who the president invited on stage by name because he knows this man and he knows what the impact of globalization has done to communities like Detroit, Michigan, where auto workers have been put out of jobs, where we've seen factories shut down. We have offshored critical supply chains in our country. Do we want our critical supplies like life-saving medical medicines and chips being made in China, or do we want them being made right here in the United States of America? Every American knows the answer to that question. This is a common sense policy. And if these countries wanted to negotiate, if these countries wanted to do what's right, they've had 70 years to do it. Instead, they have been ripping off American workers. And President Trump has made it very clear that this is a policy he was going to implement. He campaigned on the idea of fair trade, on tariffs, and nearly 80 million Americans elected him to do it, and he is delivering.
Mark Cuban, prior to being fired and removed from the Kamala Harris campaign trail for saying some really stupid shit that not only helped her lose, but also made him look quite dumb in the process, is now eating his own words. And much like New York City Mayor Eric Adams, they both seem to be distancing themselves from the Democrat Party. Smart move, if I say so myself. And I trust and believe in our president. And the talking point of the media today will be tariffs, and likely for at least another week until they find some other shiny new object to chase. However, we can't deny the fact that the path that we were on was going nowhere, and our fate was surely doomed if nothing changed. We unanimously voted for this mandate, and change is what we are getting. Promises made, promises kept. Thank you, President Trump. And if you have concerns and worry about your 401k, that's understandable. But it's been literally like 24 hours, so give it some time. And if you made it this far in the video and you like the video, subscribe, help get this message out further, share it. And there's links down below in the description if you want to connect even further.
You know what's interesting about all that is that, you know, when President Trump first started going after after Canada and Mexico, everybody was like, oh, my gosh, they're our neighbors. They're wonderful people. Why are we doing this? We love the Canadians. Well, the truth is China is making cars in Mexico and Canada and not paying a tariff on them and selling them in the United States while they are putting a tariff on our cars. Look, you're going to tariff my goods, but I'm going to lay down and let you roll all over me and sell your stuff with virtually no tariff on it. Enough. And this is what Donald Trump ran on, and he's delivering. And you know what? I don't really care about my 401k today. You know what? Not that I can afford it. Not that it isn't important. Not that I'm not at a point in my life when I should be worried about my 401k, because I am. But this is what I believe. I believe in this man. And I believe that what we're seeing now with his bringing in $1 trillion in business and manufacturing and companies moving back to the United States and seeing what we saw during COVID, when we couldn't, we had all those supply chain problems. We couldn't get medicine in this country. Other countries were prioritizing themselves before they were sending stuff to us. It's about time we recognize we've got to have manufacturing in this country, and we need to bring them to the table. And Donald Trump is the only one who could do it because he's got the biggest consumer base in the world. He's not afraid of anybody. He's to the wall, in terms of, you know what I mean? Say
that again?
Yeah. You know what I mean. And at the end, it's going to help the working class. And who's complaining? My last point. Right. Who's complaining? Wall Street. Too bad. He's helping the middle class. And finally, I think it's going to be over this summer.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying, do you think that these tariffs will impact everyone from top down?
Everyone. So okay. So again, there's different types of tariffs that have different types of impact. If they're strategic, so if China is subsidizing their steel industry and we put tariffs on, and that allows more manufacturing of steel here, and it's strategic, that can be a positive. Even though the price might be a little bit more, the amount of people hired, and it's not a dramatic negative impact because strategic tariffs really work.